Here we go. Okay, first of all, I'm super excited. Like, biggest grin on my face. We've been wanting to do this forever. We do it for everybody else and all of their brands and everything that's going on, so it's cool. So I just want to officially welcome you to Chris Chan Media. In the studio space, it's all set up.
Woo!
Yeah.
Holla. Yeah.
My best friends here, Patrick Bottinelli, Mike Johansen. Yeah, clap it up.
Yeah, I don't want to be too loud into my microphone.
Right, yeah, we should be rocking and rolling here. So
This is new. I have to say, it's the first time kind of being in this kind of seat. I'm usually bad on camera, but this is a different feel, a different vibe.
you look good on camera.
He's
got the good looks going. He knows he's the Bradley
I gotta
Cooper
adjust
always
and be
had
aware
the
that
good
this thing
looks,
is
man.
here.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah, man. I love the setup. It's feeling good. Man, we could talk about literally anything. We do a lot in the industry. We love creating and building and doing all this fun stuff. The future's going to be a lot of fun. But we could I just want to kind of dive into some stories and different things that we do in our industry. And, we've been doing it for a long time now, a really long time. So, Mike, man, tell us. We'll start with you, bro. Let's bring it in.
Start with me.
Yeah.
All right.
I want to hear about
Hit me with those questions.
Yeah, we'll start rapid fire. Here we go. Man, Mike, you did a lot of stuff. You do a lot of stuff in the sports industry in terms of Golf Channel, NFL, Masters, the Olympics. So you're a seasoned veteran with all that stuff. You got just from any of those jobs that you've done in the past, any of them stick out? You had a great time, an incredible experience.
Yeah, well, definitely. You mentioned the Olympics. So what I was hired to do for them on that job was video editing, and I had to go up to NBC Sports' headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut. Stamford, Connecticut.
Stamford, Connecticut. Oh, man.
And
it's going to be a lot of office
so I did not get
references.
to go to China to be part of the Olympics there, but man, so cool because I don't know if people realize this when they were watching the Olympics at home on TV, but all the people that you heard like commentating and all the ice skating or the all those sports, they were all in Connecticut watching video feeds and doing it all in real time. It was just incredible.
Wow.
That whole setup. And for our efforts, like our whole team of us, we all earned an Emmy for it.
That's huge.
So So I got
Winning
my
an
first
Emmy.
Emmy, and I was a part of something that had never been done before in all of like live sports.
Man, that's
a
incredible.
total remote setup.
What a
Wow.
what a milestone.
So studio up in Connecticut. Obviously the Olympics are taking place in China. All that's going down. I'm sure the hours, the time spent there, which is because of the time zones, just way crazy. So what was that like? Were you working late hours, nighttime?
So, there was people working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They bring in, I forget how many hundreds or thousands of contractors that they bring in for those. It's about a little over 3 weeks for the Olympics, but they put us up in hotels in the area. They got buses that are running that take us into the studios. Me personally, I work the 4 a.m. to 2 p.m. shift.
It's just 10 hours.
Yeah,
And then literally as I'm wrapping up at 2, another editor's coming in and he's working 2 p.m. to midnight or
Wow.
2 a.m. So there was only like maybe a 2 hour of the whole day that nobody was working on something for the parts that I was working on for the Olympics.
Okay, so that was my next question. So what were you editing for the Olympics?
So most of the things that I was working on when I was there were, we called them billboards. So like when you're watching a broadcast and right before they're about to cut to break, they usually cut to like some nice, pretty scenic shots of the country, the host country. In this case, it was Beijing, China. And, that's where all the ads get put up. And so although it wasn't the most artistic editing or the most difficult editing, it was in terms of some of the most important, because that's what pays for the whole operation, is all these sponsors like Visa and Kia and Ford.
All the big players, yeah.
A lot of sports gambling. FTX was one of the sponsors last year.
There's a lot of things that are going to come up this year about FTX.
Amazing how much can change in such a short amount of time. But yeah, so again, it wasn't to diminish what I was doing, because, dude, I mean, I don't know if everyone realizes just how many billboards there are in a day at the Olympics during broadcast, because it's on NBC in prime time. It's on USA Network all day, pretty much every day. And then this past Olympics, also, Peacock had some of the parts of the Winter Olympics that are exclusively streaming on Peacock. And I just saw the other day, NBC Sports, Peacock was with the NFL playoff game.
Yeah, that's
it's
right.
The
Everybody
most
had
streamed event ever in the history of streaming.
Yeah, everybody had to travel over there just to watch the game. I know there was some great feedback about it and not so great feedback about it.
Twitter or X was blowing up a storm about that. I think people are just mostly upset that they felt like, oh, I got to sign up for like another streaming service.
Yeah, aren't we all that way?
I just canceled one the other day.
Yeah,
I'm like,
me
I don't
too.
use it, but I did. But
There's all these apps out there now you can go through, and it shows you all the different ones that you're
Yeah.
streaming to.
Now, is there going to be one coming out to encapsulate them all? Like now,
I
for
think
this.
the
It's a great
industry
stream
is going to
wars,
be
so.
heading for some consolidation. I think the cable industry actually might be some of the answer to that, and I think eventually someone's got to create a platform where you bring in all the streaming services to one streamlined service, so it can make it easy to find what you want to watch. Apple has kind of done that with the Apple TV.
Yeah.
They have their search functionality on there, kind
And
of
it tells
goes
you
through
which
all the
app
apps.
to look for. Yeah. You're right.
But
You're
going
so
back
right.
to Peacock, I mean, look, if you like The Office, that's where The Office is. If you like Parks and Rec, that's where Parks and Rec is.
Hey, you know what? To go back to The Office, they were so smart in bringing them in and creating fresh content coming right out of there, because everybody was watching it on
Yeah.
Netflix for years, right? It's where everybody was binging it, checking it all out, and then as soon as it left, everybody went over to Peacock. And do you really want to pay for a new stream? No, nobody does. But when you're offering your favorite show that was on Netflix for years, has a cult following now, and then you start releasing all these unaired episodes and all these alternate starts and endings, like that's genius to me. Like I thought that was super cool to kind of see.
That's
So,
it. Yep. That's
man, the streaming wars are going to be interesting to see it all play out over time. But to get back to you talking about the sports stuff, man, like so that's incredible. I'm sure there's more Olympic stuff on the horizon for you in the future. I know you cut some stuff for the Masters, which was really cool. I mean, first of all, congrats on the Emmy. Go back to that. That was amazing.
Have you seen it?
they-
Yeah,
much.
that's the coolest thing. But yeah, not a lot of people have an Emmy. Not a lot of people I know have an Emmy. So that's amazing that you were able to edit something and work on something as cool as the Olympics. And it's kind of cool to hear behind the scenes of like this took place, and actually half of it was all done in Connecticut, where they were broadcasting and they had hosts and people kind of going through things versus being live from Beijing, which
Yeah.
again the time difference had to be
Yeah.
crazy.
How many
I
di-
know
how
for a
many
lot
days
of Olympic vets who have worked on a lot of these things over the years, some of them are a little disappointed because, of course, they used to go over in person and
Right.
get to experience that country and work remotely in that regard. But I think, but like I said, just seeing how all these people came together in one location to work as a team to put together this thing, like it was just, my first time working on it, it was very just impressive. And I mean,
I bet it was surreal.
There's a reason why we won an Emmy for the most outstanding live production, because it was quite the feat that they did. And NBC had the Super Bowl that year.
Wow.
So for like probably a week there, because during this Super Bowl week, we lost a lot of the people who were working Olympics for us. Then they had to go do like Super Bowl and pivot to that right away. Originally, NBC wasn't going to do the Super Bowl that year, but they asked, I believe it was Fox, if they could trade like, hey, Fox, can we do it this year? You do it next year, because we're already bringing in all these people for the Olympics.
Right.
It just makes it easier and just makes sense that we do it all one time this year than have to put together a whole new remote team to do a Super Bowl next year. So,
Yeah.
It's cool.
yeah, not only did they do the Olympics, they did the Super Bowl too. So,
How many days straight you got to work?
it was like just short of like a month straight. No days off,
Wow.
4 a.m., 2 p.m. every day. You know, I'd pretty much finish work. I'd have maybe a little bit of energy, and then I pretty much was like ready to crash and call it a night.
Done after that, right? Just
I needed to
all
make
those-
sure I had enough energy waking up every day at like 3 in the morning. Another thing that made it tough too is, of course, is the Winter Olympics, but you know, it was winter in Connecticut, and being a little Florida boy now, wasn't very like used to, you know, having to walk outside and it's freezing cold out and it's dark. You know, that came with its own
Real quick, before we
challenges.
head over to the next thing, I wanted to find out like some of the equipment and stuff you're working on there. Like, what did that look like getting into their space? They had edit bays. You know, were you working out of their broadcast studio space?
Oh yeah, man. They I forget how big that building was over there, but I mean, it is just, it looks from the outside, you know, just like a big warehouse kind of looking building, but inside it's so cool and decked out. There's 2 stories, like second stories, like all these offices, and then yeah, first story is, you know, they have these huge stages in the back of the building. You know, that's if you're familiar with like the Sunday night football show, the pre and post show that they do, that happens there. They kind of have an open air set that's kind of cool. It's just like in the middle of this lobby. They can just like have a show going on while people are like working and walking
Yeah,
by.
So everything's like a working spot there where it's all
Yeah,
you can do.
and then the edit. Yeah, they have a ton of edit bays and
anything cool about the edit bays? Anything unique or different, or just, you know, your standard run of the mill edit bay?
I mean, if you're someone that's never worked in like for professional like production company like that, I mean, yeah, all the rooms are like soundproof walls with that kind of neutral gray paint, so you can make sure you can focus on all the colors and things. You know, every industry standard, you know, monitors, so you can make sure you're seeing the colors correctly that need to go out. Audio leveling equipment. They edit with Avid, which, you know, for most creators nowadays is not the editing software that most are familiar with, but in a live TV environment, Avid makes complete sense to use. You can collaborate with people across multiple computers while having projects open at the same time, and
That's cool.
you can bring in live feeds that are coming in real time and start editing right away. Like, you don't have to wait for that feed to like stop.
Man, that joint collaboration is so crucial, and being able to get things done at a super efficient rate. And I know today's age with like 4K, 6K streams, like I can only imagine what that's going to look like with an 8K stream in the future. You know, how are you going to be able to, and I know they use a lot of proxy files too. So you're not pulling down giant files, you're just pulling little pieces of it that then get pushed back out. So
they have engineers, man, that's all they do. That's their full-time job, is just like making sure all that stuff is working. And if it's not,
they got to call Bob Zellin.
I had to do it
The legend
before
in the industry.
in my days at the Golf Channel, where it's like, I've lost, this isn't working, and you know, there's someone you can call, and that's their job, is to be there. So when that happens, you know, things don't skip a beat, because you know, to be in a live TV environment like with sports, you know.
Were you ever cutting live when you were at the Golf Channel and things were going out on broadcast? Were you ever cutting live in the studio in the back?
Oh yeah, man. I got some stories there where it's like, I had stuff, we had seconds to spare and it just made air.
I could see that.
I used to work on a show called Morning Drive every day. That was another show I had to wake up like 3 in the morning to work on. 2-hour-long show, 7 to 9. And I mean, there are days where, so TV shows are, they're broken up into blocks. And I think for a 2-hour show, man, I forget how many blocks you would have in like an hour, but maybe 10 blocks in an hour. So there's like 20 blocks total for a 2-hour long show. And me and my producer that I'm working with, I mean, we're only like maybe a block ahead, trying to keep up with like every single thing you see on TV for a show, whether it's on ESPN or CNN or Fox News, any of those like live television shows, every single piece of content that pops up on screen originated probably from an editor who had to do something with it. Even if it's just a picture that they just want to add a little bit of a movement to. That hit an editor, and then he sent that off, and then it goes to like this other software deck where the live on-air director, he's able to like go, all right, cut to that, pull this up.
That makes sense because I watch a football game like NFL, and then goes to commercials, and they just showed a commercial of that play that just happened a minute ago or 5 minutes ago. So they're just slinging it together, like right then and there, like live cat.
Well, if you're talking about, I can't speak to like actual games that are going on. I mean, there's a team of people who, like can rewind and do replays, obviously instantaneously.
They're sitting in a mobile bus outside of the stadium with a giant satellite and giant cables running internet so that they can pump things in and out.
Yeah, man, internet's changed the game because now these producers or these like reporters, they can go out and they just need their phone to be able to get 5G internet, and they're able to then stream back whatever they're filming, like I said, like directly into our studio. So it's pretty incredible how it all works, and it kind of, I don't know technically how it all works, but it blows my mind that in real time, it's like, oh my, this was filmed like 10 seconds ago, and we're already able to like manipulate it.
Did you have anything while you were doing something live go wrong or crazy or just like?
I was just gonna ask that.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, did anything like blow up on you while you were?
Nothing like ever. There's a few times where maybe we were working on like a tease or a bump for a show. A tease is like obviously it's like a little video package that plays. Usually at the beginning of a show to kind of tee you up on what today's episode is going to be about, or a bump, which is something that would play either like usually coming back from break or right before you go to break. There are times where we just didn't have enough time to get the edit done to send it over to EVS to play back.
Do you have like a backup or something you push instead?
Well, there's other times where there's more important things, like maybe an interview or something that needs to go on the show that day. And it never happened to me, but I've seen it where back in the control room, they can technically bring up our like what the Avid is playing back on our timeline. They can shoot that directly to air.
Wow.
So I have seen it where they're counting down, like we have access to the, everyone's on like a walkie-talkie system. So we're like hearing it, it's like, all right, we're coming to you and press play now. And we just all stepped back and just like, no one touched this computer because
I can see a mouse.
Well, no, you wouldn't.
It's only pulling the monitor.
It's feeding back the
It's
monitor feed. So I have witnessed. It never happened to me, but I've witnessed where something like that needed to happen. And to the viewer at home, they would never know.
Yeah, they would never know.
I think whenever I'm watching live anything now, I'm always thinking to myself, man, like somewhere in the back there are some editors like scrambling, like trying to put something together. And
do you ever meet anybody cool on set? I know with the Golf Channel, there's probably a lot of pro golfers coming in and out of there. Anybody cool come around?
Yeah, from the PGA Tour, surprisingly, no. Most of the golfers that would come on the show would join via like FaceTime or Zoom or something. But we did have like a few people like Michelle Wee, who's a pretty big name in the LPGA world. Like she came on and she co-hosted Live From during one of the majors. Jonathan Coachman, I don't know if you know the Coach.
I don't know who that is.
He was bigger in actually the wrestling world.
Okay.
But he's
Welcome to the Golf Channel.
Yeah, but I've seen him pop up. He's done like World Long Drive stuff, and then
okay, that's
he was
cool.
just one of the reoccurring like morning drive, kind of like would rotate out certain hosts of the shows just to keep it, I think, fresh.
Gotcha.
And he was one of the ones that like was one of the rotation. So
You have a favorite show out of all the shows that they produced out there? Like your favorite one to watch? Like that was just like that's creative. I really like what they're doing here.
from Golf Channel,
Yeah.
probably. I mean, obviously, Big Break.
Yeah,
That's
that's a
got to be
classic.
like
That's-
the one that everyone knows.
Remember the guy that didn't wear shoes when he was playing? That was one of the first seasons out there. He's just like playing barefoot, just hitting balls and stuff.
I know that when I was at Golf Channel, Big Break had actually ended, but they still did some Big Break-esque shows. And those are pretty, dude, those are incredible. I mean, you talk about editing something where you got like 15 channels of audio
Man,
because every single contestant is mic'd up.
I could see that timeline now. Just
Oh my God, and you're
How many
trying-
monitors you need?
I mean, it's a big puzzle. I mean, it takes months to put. Sometimes you don't even realize. Like, pick any show on television, reality, or even like a game show. Like, all I can think about is like, man, so much footage you got to go through, so many microphones you got to keep organized, and But hey, it's never just like one guy doing it. I mean, all those things take a team.
100%.
All
right, I was gonna say, what you want to say
I was
something?
gonna say, remember shooting for Monster Jam, like Guinness Book of World Records, and they had the Video Village. That was the first time I ever heard of Video Village.
Yeah.
But
It's big time in Hollywood. It's
I
like,
was so happy just to give them my SD card with footage, and I saw the guy with like a pile of SD cards organizing it, like you said, like just all that stuff.
my
I wouldn't be
gosh.
able to
So many.
organize
Hey,
it.
speaking of Monster Jam, what a crazy time that was. I know you and Mike both went out to go shoot that. A couple of the guys. That was a wild time, man. That was during 2020 too. So like the procedures of filming all that stuff were crazy. But
man.
dude, you met a bunch of the cool guys out there. The zombie guy who we found out lives like right here in
lives right
Ocoee.
here, yeah.
That's so sick. What was your favorite part of that project? You were like the lead on that. You're one of the best drone pilots I've ever seen.
So that was probably one of my most favorite times of flying the drone for a project. Monster Jam, growing up, being in front of the trucks, watching how it all goes down, plus breaking like 7+ world records.
Wow.
It was
And that's
so
what
cool.
That's what that show was, right? They were trying to just break records left and right. So each segment was them like doing some kind of world record.
And I think they had the Diesel Brothers were there too, right?
Diesel Brothers,
I don't know
yeah.
if people
Legends.
are familiar with them. Like, they're big on YouTube, and I don't even think at the time I didn't even know who the Diesel Brothers were.
Nope.
That wild. I remember going and seeing those guys in Jacksonville because they would have Monster Jam sessions up there. That was one of my first experiences. Is getting to see that it was insane to watch. Just the energy and the fun stuff they were doing. But getting to work it is a whole nother experience.
Oh,
And
the actual show.
Yeah, yeah. And I know the trucks when you guys were out there, some of the heat and the overheating caused everything to stop, and they had to wait hours before they could.
To see them switch a transmission that just blew on one of these monster trucks, it was incredible. There's like, it would heat up, catch fire. They bring the truck in. All right, ready to roll. I was like, did that just happen? No way. It
was hot.
incredible.
It was
I
hot.
think we filmed that in May. Was that May, Patrick?
Yeah, at a racetrack somewhere in Naples. It was in May.
It was the Bradenton Motor Speedway.
Bradenton, yeah.
Man, I know it was hot because you guys had all the gear on, protecting yourself, rocking all that stuff, standing on the scaffold.
Dude, I went as just a spotter for Patrick for flying the drone. I end up in a forklift, like
Raised up 20 feet.
I know. I saw the pictures.
2-3 stories in the air on this forklift that someone just explained to me how to work 2 seconds ago, with a camera that someone just explained to me how it works 2 seconds ago. Just told to
Point and shoot.
point and shoot
Point
at
and shoot.
the big monster truck rolling by. And thank goodness I brought my big hat, because man, I was baking up there in the sun. It was crazy.
Yeah, the day after, the guy who filmed after you, he got a heat stroke on one of those up there.
That's right. They had to stop production for that. I remember that. You
Really?
guys-
Stop it. Yeah.
Man.
What was one of the best things that they were trying to break world record wise there? Like, what did you see that was just like, whoa, that's wild? I can't believe they did that. I know they did the spinning
I
thing.
would
How many
say
spins?
the spinning one with the zombie because I forgot how many rotations he had to break, but to do the donut, how many rotations in a certain area, that was incredible.
Man.
And with the drone up top aiming down, I remember the producer coming over. I'm like, check out this shot, and he's like, yes, because I mean that's what you want to see.
Yeah,
just
and,
down
and there's a
below.
lot of attempts for that one too, right?
There's a lot of attempts what they didn't want to do,
Yeah.
But and if they go over the line, you have to restart it. And I'm just thinking he's going to be done and just throw up right afterwards. But
Well, dude, the
man.
more attempts you do, the more wear and tear on the trucks, and so like I'm sure like tires were a factor of all that, and
That's our biggest sponsor, so I was like, wear out those tires.
Oh, really? Oh, no way. Yeah,
I remember because I was only there on the first day, which was like kind of practice, but they didn't want to break any of the records yet during practice. For those of you at home that don't know, TV, you got to make a little bit of drama. So I remember they were like telling them like don't break the record right now. Like they were like almost too good.
Wow.
At it's almost like they knew they were going to break all these records. Like,
There were a lot that they were attempting to break. Do you remember how
Yeah.
many there were altogether?
There's at least 7. The hardest one, I think, was riding on 2 wheels sideways. You have to hit the ramp this way sideways and just go as long as you can. I forgot that record.
I know there was one where they had to do a ramp, and they shot up and had to do a double
It was
flip.
the first attempt to do a double flip.
A
And
double flip. I know that was...
that
I
took
mean,
the longest because it's
They
a
got it?
science to build these ramps with dirt. You have to be an engineer, and they added a contraption at the top so when the front tire hits, it like triggered this one thing to go to flip it even more. So I was like, wow. Like I listened to the guy running the show and owning the monster trucks, and it's crazy. I was just
Man, that's
engineered.
amazing.
Like dirt. Nope, this dirt is compact. It's wet dirt, dry dirt. I'm like, wow.
And that probably was the most scariest one to think about because you're flipping in the air not once, but twice. So you're
Yeah.
getting that height. And I'm sure the damage to the truck after you do a flip and you land, that's probably the one that they were like hoping went the best as quickly as possible so they weren't having to switch out parts and things for the truck. So
Yeah, it was
wild.
great. Met the whole Gravedigger team.
yeah,
The Anderson family. Maximum destruction. And one thing I learned from going to this is I thought each truck had its own team. Kind of like NASCAR has its own crew.
Yeah.
And a lot of y'all may know this and don't want to ruin the surprise. But it's actually one big organization running the show. You have different trucks, and if this driver can't drive, then this one subs in. But it's a team, and it's
a team
incredible.
effort, but they're all in competition with each other to see
set
how well
records.
they can do. And
Yeah,
that's pretty
some
cool.
of the that's kind of like the new or the XFL, which is now the USFL,
USFL.
UFL.
UFL.
They're now the United Football League. Same thing. It's where the NFL is like a nonprofit organization that oversees the 32 teams, which are all owned by individual owners, whereas the UFL is they own the teams in the league. So yeah, kind of the same thing where they're competing against each other, but it's all the same company.
Yeah, man. Anything else from that trip? I mean, you've done a lot of drone stuff, like we were saying before. That was Monster Jam specific drone action, hired to go out there, capture all this over, a week's time span to put out this great show. But we've done a lot of other great stuff, especially with the drones. So the Bellamy brothers, that was a fantastic pilot episode that we got to put together for the famous Bellamy brothers out on their property, and got to fly drones for the show to establish where they were at, kind of show off their 180-acre property.
Huge acre with the cows and everything. Have
Where's
the
that
drone.
at?
Just north of Tampa.
Yeah, I was gonna say we headed on. We went down
Go to
50
Colonial
for a
50
while,
till, like,
and then
dead
just
end.
shot straight into their
So
slot.
like Homo Sassa, like maybe out. Is it near the ocean?
Inland, but out towards that way.
Okay.
Yeah. We were over on the cattle spot where they were auctioning off all the cattle and everything like that. So we filmed a lot there. Then we went over to their ranch and filmed with their families. And I got to say, them living on their little compound that they were at was probably the coolest thing ever. They had, both their houses.
Like different
David,
house property.
yeah, they had their
here,
property
the
there.
best friend over here. Mom and dad
But
here.
I think probably the coolest thing about filming on that shoot, besides getting to fly the drone for a TV show, was the unique things that were there. The trees were just unbelievably beautiful and just huge. and the property just had this really awesome vibe to it. So it was fun to see this drone kind of take on a new perspective from like really great heights to kind of see all the cattle like kind of run across. And then like other really cool moments of like using it like a camera jib, which you're so great at doing.
Man, that's the best. I learned my drone skills from you. I remember how many years ago we started out with the Phantom 2.
Oh,
which
my goodness.
We got some skeleton drones on the wall, but
Yeah.
the
I think
it's
Phantom
like
2,
10 years now.
you attached the GoPro.
It has been 10 years. Yeah,
You
this
attached
year.
the GoPro to the drone. That was
That's
like when
right.
we started. It was like a $3,500 kit, Pelican case, 5 batteries. It was just all a mess.
Bro, I
Like,
remember
nah.
taking out my drone the first time and getting ready to launch it, watching all the YouTube videos, setting up, put the carbon fiber blades on there. I'm like, all right, let's do this. Flips right over. I literally put the blades on the wrong one so it didn't calibrate correctly and just hit right into the concrete. The carbon fiber blades just destroyed. Had to call them back and get new blades. And then within a week later, I took it out and flew it right into my house.
Oh my god! And then my parents' house too.
And then so I'm like, Patrick, you gotta come check this out. So like we're practicing flying it around, and I take it over to Patrick's house, and we're doing a great job with it. I'm like, I got it up, and it's that one of those things where we're so used to playing Halo, like from college.
We play video games. Thanks,
we played
Mom
it.
and
We were
Dad.
so good.
We
The
can fly.
Warthog, and it's almost the same kind of concept with the controller. And so, but the problem is with a drone, it can spin around 360, and the next thing you know, your front is your back, and your back is your front.
Left
and
is right, right
left
is
is
left.
right. And so you get thrown off. So that's one of the things that we had to learn probably right away. And I remember being in your backyard and we're
Yep.
trying to like film us, like waving to the camera, all the family's there hanging out, and it just starts drifting into the house. And I'm like, okay. And your brain just thinks you're going the right way, and I push
push
the
it
wrong
even
way,
more.
and then it goes wham, right into the house, drops down, and that was like one of my 2 colossal fails with
Yeah,
the drone.
you had
when
the
I
fails
first,
in the
first
drone.
ever got it.
I've
yeah.
had crashes too, but yeah.
Yeah, you got a couple crashes under your belt. A couple of them that weren't your fault, man. Some of them that I remember you got a brand new drone, and and again, when we talk about crashing drones, we were crashing drones because we were pioneers in this. Like
Yeah.
these things were brand new. It was before DJI was a $1 billion company.
Yep.
And so when you were out there flying it, I remember you bought a brand new one, and it just took off on you.
Well, all of a
Yeah,
sudden, like error. Then it was about 100 yards away and over some trees. So landed in a forest. So I had to drive there. It took me 45 minutes to find it. It's tilted over. The blades are trying to spin. The motor's heating up, melted the screws in the plastic. But I'm just glad I found it. I was able to send it in. They sent me a new drone or something. But yeah, that was one of my big ones. And then another one, I'm filming properties for some houses or empty lots. And, they're side by side, 1, 2, 3, 4. So got a rhythm, did the same thing for this lot. Then the last lot on takeoff, I didn't look. And there's a tree branch up in front of the client. But luckily, I had a backup drone, was able to pull it out. But
Okay, we're
that's
so
always the worst
experienced.
when you crash in front of the client. Yeah.
It's always good when you have the backup drone, though. That's how you know we're experts. So like, oh, you got an extra drone, we're good to go.
You and I were at NAB in 2014, which I can't believe is already almost 10 years ago now. And I
Yeah,
think
that's
that's like
wild.
where we saw some drones like first in action. And, we knew that like, man, these things are going to be, like the future. Like every video shoot is going to have this because you're going to be able to get these aerial shots where you needed a crane or a helicopter to do it
100%.
previously.
And we came from the Disney World where they were using jibs on all of their commercial shoots. So you'd go out and they'd have these giant jibs that would kind of swing across like a Disney Cruise Line or something for a vacation planning DVD for Disney. You'd be out there and you'd see all this heavy equipment. And immediately when I saw the drone and what it was capable of, I exactly thought that. I said, why not use this drone like a jib? And of course, over time, you start realizing, oh, wow, the fans, they spin a lot. They make a lot of noise. So you have to be at a higher elevation.
Yeah.
And so as the years have passed and the technology has gotten better and, they've gotten quieter and the camera lenses have gotten better, so you can be further away, be zoomed in, and still do that nice movement without disrupting the set, which is, that's very powerful now. But back in the day, you couldn't do that. So we were still kind of making those things happen. I remember doing a bunch of shoots where we'd film it all and kind of pretend like they're talking and then run audio over it afterwards and
Yeah.
just do a voiceover to make it seem like this very high-end commercial where it's flying in and someone's saying, hey, welcome to this space. That was
That's
Yeah,
probably
right.
the most like practical use of a drone on like a video shoot is like you said, use it as like a jib. Because
how-
like, you know, depending on what it is, like how much aerial coverage do you need? But
It's that
you
extra
know,
flavor.
I know you guys have used them indoors before.
Oh man.
So many different. We
Yeah.
took it over to Crooked Can too. So man, we got so many stories about Crooked Can when they first opened up. We started over here in Winter Garden over at the Bond Building, which is if you know Winter Garden, it's the office space that's above Three Birds Cafe, and that's over by the clock tower. We started over there. And we are now over by the Crooked Can doing all the marketing and stuff over on this side of town. And when we first met those guys, they were, I mean, I had never been to a brewery. I wasn't really into that yet. Craft beers were, just starting to become the thing,
Yeah.
although they were around for a very long time. We got to get that experience when I hit Winter Garden, and we got to do a lot of cool stuff with them. And I remember taking the drone out with them and filming their first ever weekend when they first were here. And like that was just such a good time. And later on, we would try flying the drone through the market, late at night afterwards, just to kind of get some cool shots. We were just trying different things and doing cool stuff. And
That was fun.
yeah, the 3D mapping stuff came out of all that too. If you kind of ever seen 3D mapping, it's what you see on Google Maps, street maps. You put the cursor down, you kind of make your way through the street. It's the same thing we were doing for businesses here in town. I thought that was really
Before that was a
unique.
big thing for real estate. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Now it's taken over real estate. In fact, drones and 3D mapping and video have just skyrocketed. And back, 10 years ago when we were launching all this stuff and being, entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
I-
You always saw the future. I admire you having a vision, and you always had to tell us. We wouldn't believe you. We would believe you, but you always knew and saw the future. Drones. I mean, we created a business around drones called Sky Minion.
oh man, that was a blast.
Sky Minion.
Yeah.
Remember that, Stormy?
Yeah, yeah.
Man, that was amazing.
Yeah,
we
it's
named our drones, Inspire.
Yeah, you guys. I was gonna say you guys used to have one of those like really high end drones back in the day, like for its time.
Yeah, the Inspire one when it first came out.
was my favorite.
We were pushing the edge. There weren't gimbals that existed. Those things you see people walking around with that have their cameras on that are all steady, steady cams. Like that stuff was very high end rigs of stuff. And then Ronin came out with theirs. And, so I took that initial launch of the company of all this production and storytelling and marketing and creativity and just put it back into the technology. So every time something new came out, we were jumping on it. So from a gimbal to 3D mapping to drones to using DSLR cameras that are like incredible at low light. When Sony A7S II came out, like there's always something that gave us the edge.
Yeah.
And people enjoy that kind of stuff. And I really love finding those unique angles. I think that's the best part about it. One of the cool things is the 360 stuff when it came out, and now look at the metaverse and all these other things happening, and Facebook and how they're putting all their things together with their headset. And the Oculus is incredible. I'm not gonna lie, there's some really great stuff about it, but we're years away from all that stuff. But I love looking forward to the future. I love seeing what that looks like and adapting those new technologies. And in fact, guys, we're coming up into a space where we're going to be dealing, it's an election year, and we're going to be dealing with a lot of misinformation and stuff happening. And with the rise of AI and deep fakes, being able to take someone's face and then changing it to somebody else and then, manipulating that footage and putting it out there, there's going to be so much misinformation. How are we going to verify what that looks like? So I've been diving into Web3 and blockchain technology for the last 4 years, and it's incredible. And there's people like Gary Vaynerchuk that are out there, preaching about it and talking about it. And he's got a lot of great points. He was mentioning the other day how, there's going to be so many deep fakes and fake stuff happening that we're not going to be able to verify that on regular social media. So we're going to, in the future, it's going to be so relevant. It's going to be in our face, and you're just not even going to know. But we're going to go to the blockchain and mint that to the blockchain to verify that it's us on our social blockchain, so that when things get put out there, if people want to verify it, they're going to go to the blockchain and look at the node and say, oh, yeah, this is verifiable. This is their actual account in Web3.
Yeah.
So people don't know, but it's coming. It's going to hit them hard, and it's going to be a whole nother way. But it's the future, and it's what we're looking for. And I think with the rise of AI and all this new stuff happening and how quickly we're able to obtain information, that's huge. And I see a lot of entrepreneurs taking that opportunity to take that technology and build off of it. So what you're going to see in the next 2, 3, 4 years are a lot of companies coming out and streamlining stuff. And you're going to see a lot of people in the industry, they're all going to get, they're going to get cut.
I was going to say, you got to use it.
You're not going to need a team of 30 or 40 people to do what AI is now able to do. Now, that's the big fight everybody talks about. You still need the humans. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of things that you need, and you can take this technology and benefit from it if you become skilled and efficient with prompts and how to speak the language. I think that's really important. I think that could do really well in the future. But I'm telling you, man, that's from back in the day, from creating production and storytelling through unique angles, from a drone to a 360 camera to making it smooth and buttery with a Ronin Steadicam, to just figuring out. We were one of the first peoples that got the hoverboards. Those little Segways that came out. I remember seeing that online and checking that out. And I mean, they cost a lot of money back then, like $1,500 per unit. And we found a company and we were able to buy a few of them at a discounted rate to bring over, and we started using it with our equipment. We'd jump on the hoverboard, hold the camera, and start getting all these shots, and it was incredible. It's buttery smooth. It was something different. It was unique to watch. People would look at it and be like, wow, that's...
Can I try it?
Yeah, can I try it? Oh, that was always the famous thing. Can I try the
Remember
hoverboard?
that 80-year-old woman that blew our minds?
Oh, that was insane.
Can I try it? And you said yes. I'm like,
Okay,
oh, gosh, why?
Terrible decision there.
But she did it.
Yes, she did it, and she was incredible at it, too. Like, literally thought this lady was going to wipe out. And we had other people who were like, oh, yeah, they're going to be great. And they jump on there. I'm like, oh, my goodness, I'm glad I have insurance.
Right.
But, yeah, we learned our lessons and never really let people on it after that. But, yeah, it's from doing things like that and kind of looking beyond, kind of seeing what's out there. I love having the access to the internet right now and being able to see what other people are doing to create these visions. It's the future. So
staying ahead.
Yeah, staying ahead. I'm telling you.
There's a scary world out there. Even for AI and voices, you may get like parents or grandparents getting calls from their nephews and nieces. Hey, I need help. Please send me money. I recommend creating a safe word or a passcode.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I've heard like an emoji, a secret emoji to send to your mom, dad, whoever.
And they can respond in a different secret emoji. That's actually a great point, man. My dad called me the other day and said,
thought about that stuff.
Hey, is Elon giving away free Bitcoin? I said, Dad, do not click on that. He's not giving away free Bitcoin. And neither is Mr. Beast. I mean, they've gotten so good at this that they take the faces and then they dub over and use the AI to change it
Joe
using their same
Rogan,
voice. Yeah, a lot
making
of Joe
it look
Rogan
like
ads.
he's promoting a product or a supplement or something. Like, oh yeah, I take this every day. It's like,
yeah, I've seen
not
so
Joe
many,
Rogan.
and it's really clever. They'll put a video of him talking with it dubbed over it,
you gotta
then
make
cut
sure.
away, and then use the AI voiceover.
And just quick enough too, like 1 second where obviously the words aren't matching up with his mouth, but it's so quick that to the untrained eye,
And there's a lot of
you
untrained
just
eye
assume
people.
like, oh yeah. I mean, like you just said, you mentioned your parents. I'm sure all of our parents.
The internet illiteracy is ridiculous. I mean, think about how far we've come since 2010. We knew the internet pretty well from in the 2000s. Think about where we're at now. The internet illiteracy is insane. When I talk to people, half of the time, it's not us that made the issue. It's a user error on their side. And so you're constantly battling that. So how do you progress when you're constantly battling those basic concepts and you're like, man, the future is going to be this, but you're still stuck down here with everything. So we got to wait for the technology to catch up and for them to seamlessly kind of integrate that into all the things that we do, which they're kind of doing. ChatGPT, I mean, that's the buzzword of 2023, which we were on it 2022, of course, being ahead of the curve when the technology came out and available to us. But being ahead of those things, that's huge. And getting that incorporated into our text messaging so that our text messages become more advanced, and it's wild.
Yeah, man. Like I'd say there's not a day that goes by anymore that I don't use AI in some capacity. Like whether it's a tool as part of my editing workflow or just asking ChatGPT some questions to help get me to the answers quicker. You talked about how, AI is going to replace humans. Like, no, because end of the day, it's a tool like anything else. that you can use to get something done more efficient or learn how to get it done in the first place. So
It's like a catalyst. It's a jump start that really
Yeah.
kind of show you things of like that grunt work that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
That gets you going and kind of gets you to a place where you're like, wow, I could really build from here. And I love how quickly it shows it to you, right? So for the last year, I've been using the prompt where you write out the prompt and you get really good with your prompts. You can get it to do some amazing things. And it's just the speed of it, and it
So
pops
fast.
out. It's so fast, and you feel like, wow, and then you ever get that feeling where you're like, you don't want to ask it again because you're asking it so many times, and you kind of feel bad, like, oh, I don't want you to work too hard.
it has feelings.
It's a computer. Yeah, like it has feelings. Like I'm like, oh man, I'm already establishing feelings for this technology. I feel bad that I'm asking it to do so much work because it's spitting out and it's doing it so quickly. And towards the end of last year, I adapted and I changed over from the written side of the ChatGPT, and I started integrating the chat with ChatGPT, where you put that on your phone and you can speak with an AI, and it's just it's like way better than Siri, obviously, which wasn't
wow.
scraping the internet, and doing all that stuff. It was just pointing you places. Where now we have AI, which is in ChatGPT 4 and 5, they're literally scraping real-time data from the internet and giving you information, which that's so powerful. How can you not? It's Ziggy from the from Quantum Leak. It's all of it's Jarvis. It's all the things that we wish we had, and it's coming to fruition. And the cool side of it is you have the software, then you have the hardware that's happening too. So imagine the software and the hardware coming together, and we've got these robots like what Elon's making, and these other things that have this intellectual thought process that we never would have thought in the basic egg timer, or all these other things that are happening around us. So,
Yeah.
one
those
thing
little
I
robots.
found though is, although ChatGPT has all these answers, I still will default to Google sometimes to find the answer for something.
Say what?
I said, you know how I'll Google that to learn. I still kind of my brain can't get off of defaulting to Google to
Interesting.
go
yeah.
for when I need to find some information quick. Where I know I could ask ChatGPT,
Right.
and it would probably point me to the answer maybe quicker. I don't know, but
So that's a really good point you bring up. So I'm
Yeah.
subcategorizing all those things. When I'm looking for locations and places to go, I am Googling things because of the map integration. And I'm not using Apple Maps necessarily all the time, but sometimes I am. But I'm usually Googling those things to make sure I have the right location and then using the map setting.
Yep.
And then for the other side of it,
I think I know where you're
Whoa.
going with this though.
Wait,
where there's certain
just happened?
Are you an
there's
AI?
certain things.
Hold on.
There's certain
Are
things
we
you want to
rolling?
ask ChatGPT.
What's going on?
I'm a robot. I just turned off and it just came back
Yeah.
on there. My switch was not
Real
going
life
there.
Chat GBT maybe here.
Where I was going with that
Well,
thought.
the other side of it.
But no, I get what
use
you're
it for
saying,
just
and I
info,
think
but the
maybe
other
I'm
side-
similar.
The subcategorization. All right, I'm sorry. Let me bring it back. Flip the switch. The subcategorization of these search engines. So for Google, I'm using it for the maps. I'm looking up for locations. I'm finding that other generations and myself are now going to TikTok to search for things and find out more information. And I'm watching videos, almost like an Amazon review kind of thing, but it's in video form. And then for AI, I'm finding myself wanting to have in-depth conversations with people to find out more information about a subject that I'm not going to get from a Google search. A Google search might take me a lot longer to kind of decipher through the information, whereas I'd take ChatGPT and I'll say, streamline this to me, and then I'll push it and push it and push it to get the information I need. So I'm kind of moving those into 3 different categories. I've got Google straight up for locations, map, food places, and things like that. I'm heading over to TikTok to find out what it looks like and see video of those food places and what it looks like, if it's quality, if it's good, And then I'm heading over to
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT. I'm just joking.
You're scaring me, bro. You have a chip in your brain.
I'm heading over to ChatGPT to have that streamlined conversation where I'm just connecting and I can keep pushing it to find out more information. So to answer your question, to respond to that, yeah, you're absolutely right. I do default to Google a lot of the times, but then for different things, I'm
Yeah.
looking at the different search engines.
I think it's just it's such a reflex, right? For so many years,
Google
Google
it.
was the tool to find out something. Something even as simple as I was in the kitchen the other day, and I was like, man, how many milliliters in this tablespoon. And so I Googled that. Whereas, like, yes, ChatGPT would have had the answer as well.
But your innate reaction
it's
is
like
just to go
my
down
muscle memory is to go to pull out my phone and go to Google. And Google has their own AI tools now as well, which I've played around with a little bit. It's also, I mean, all these AI tools are incredible. I mean,
we could sit here and have an AI chat for hours and hours. In fact, that's what our next get together and hang out. Again, this is the unofficial podcast, just hanging out, relaxing, just kind of get to know each other.
Get in the flow, bro.
Exactly. I love having you guys here. Appreciate it. And the next time we sit down, and I definitely want to dig into some more like future technology, because I think a lot of people out there that are even going to care to listen to this are going to want to know this information. They kind of want to get caught up on it. You know, the words NFT and crypto have been so dirty and nobody really likes it. And then the scare with AI of like the apocalypse and stuff like that. And like, I mean, Terminator is kind of based on that.
definitely the older generations that, you know, it's just, they've reached an age where it's like, I don't need a new thing.
It's too much. There's always going to
like,
be the new thing. Just tell me when I need to know what I need to know when it's happening.
We're kind of in this age range of like, we're not young anymore, but we're not like old yet. So, you know, we still need to keep learning the new tricks, man, because we got to keep up with, you know, there's this generation right behind us hey, they want to take our spot. Right?
Absolutely. And they're doing it, and they're a lot smarter than we think and give them credit for. I will tell you that. Everybody always wants to kind of talk down to the generation after them and after them and after them. And they're lazy. They don't get this. I think they just understand that they have a lot of options. And so they're
100%,
you know what I mean?
man. They definitely just think differently. I mean, we're talking about it right now with like AI and, you know, I don't know how much longer you want to do this podcast. I mean, I could get into a whole rant about,
we can go down the rabbit
you know,
hole.
of like,
I think we grew up in good times. Like,
everyone says they grew up in the best times.
but you
That's
think
like
about
the
it.
thing.
We actually grew up as kids that had to be back with the street lights on, and we grew up before this was even a thing. When high school was actually fun and private, no one had this to distract them. We had that community and friends and outreach. We were friends with the administrators, and
That's a really good
that
point.
cool. And we had to adapt fast to this, so we have that quick. Like, we knew how it was. I say we lived like cavemen, and we adapted to technology. We have to stay on the forefront of it. I think we have the advantage of adapting faster than others.
And a lot more adaptation can happen for us because we were the generation that created it. Like, we were the ones that experienced the troubleshooting of it starting at, you know, as a beta, and now we're, you know, full-fledged into this social realm of technology.
We also grew up with, I mean, amazing technology too. I mean, what we have now is crazy, but, you know, compared to, let's say, a lot of Generation X, you know, they didn't really get to use the internet until they were like in college.
It just reminds me of Nate Bargatze. As soon as you say that, I like that. His comedy is so funny.
Yeah,
man.
or even after post-college. So
Yeah.
that's like, dude, they were already like maybe married and, you know, starting careers and all these things before like email was like a thing.
Yeah.
Where I grew up, you know, it was like we had internet in our house from the time I was in like, you know, elementary school.
AOL dial-up.
And
It was slow, but we had it.
I love watching those videos where you watch the kids try and do a rotary phone, and they're like, "How do you do this?" What? Like, you got 5 minutes. You give me
Now,
5
kids
minutes?
don't even know what a phone is with a
But
cord
to
on it.
Patrick's point,
that's
you know,
weird.
there was, you know, things like Blockbuster, you
Movie
know,
gallery.
there are these like analog things that now I've been reading or seeing, or probably saw a TikTok on it, that the younger generations are kind of yearning for. Some of this older technology that like we would kind of like raise our eyebrows to, like these kids are like finding tape recorders again and making mixtapes with tapes, or, you know, vinyl records.
Wow, that came back.
There's more sales now in vinyl than there are in CDs.
I love seeing
You remember Disc Jockey?
the revitalization. Like, I love seeing things revitalized that were old and nostalgic, like vinyl. and then taking them and adding new technologies
Yeah.
into it. Like that's fun. Like I know we got a record player at home that's a Bluetooth with all this
Me
random
too.
stuff.
Yeah.
Like
I don't even
it's
have
so
a
cool, though.
DVD player anymore hooked up to any of my TVs or a Blu-ray or anything like that. But I do have a record player in my house.
Isn't
now.
that wild? Dude, I got a 15-year-old daughter, so like it's funny to watch her and her style. Like she's wearing these giant jeans and these ripped holes. I'm like, Jinkos.
Jinkos.
She's like, she's like, what'd you call me? I'm like, no, it's a brand, like Jinkos. You know, like she's like,
old
huh?
is new
I don't get it.
again.
Oh my
And it's all coming back, man.
It is.
It's all coming back.
But like to your point, it's cool. But they put a Polaroid cameras are big again. Like
Yeah.
people,
I use that.
We like you said, we grew up in a world where you did have to go take the camera to get developed, and you'd look at your pictures. The digital cameras came later, so it was such a novelty and new thing. Now we're back to a world where it's like people want the physical photo albums again.
Well, we kept it. It's like technology. We kept advancing and advancing and advancing. To us, it's exciting. We went from having to do the disposable, where we're dependent on someone else, to being excited for the newest, latest thing. But the generation that is starting with the newest, latest thing aren't excited about that. So they're excited about the old thing and being able to feel what that looks like. And
I know we're
process
kind of like,
it.
dude, we're past that. What are you talking about? Like,
Right? So that's how we're reverting, and then we'll come back to the center where we find some,
dude, just wait till they own houses and they just see all the stuff that's just laying around, and like a photo album is just like another thing of stuff where it's just like, who's gonna look at this? Like, what are we holding on?
Although I do get some great memories going back and looking at those old photo albums. There's a touch to it, but all right, cool. So I say we wrap
can
it
keep
up.
going.
We could keep going.
Right.
We could.
I love you guys. It's awesome. We
I
got a
gotta go
lot of
walk
cool
the
stuff
dog.
going on. Got to walk the dog. You got your pregnant wife at home. That's super
Got
exciting.
my third on the way.
Third on the
y'all.
way.
I'll find out if it's a boy or girl a week from now.
Oh man,
wow,
that's so exciting.
are you gonna like?
That's outdated. Whenever
What's
this launches.
now for kid
Is there a
number?
gender reveal?
I know for kid number 3, is there any sort of elaborate gender reveal, or is it just you're just when the
there's
doctor?
there shouldn't be a baby shower. We already have all
Like,
the
you just
stuff
gonna
that we
ask the
need.
doctor right
Just
there and then?
diapers and beer.
What is it?
Hey, that's a good one. I did
Diapers
that
and
one.
beers because you're gonna need diapers. That's for sure.
That's just your party to hang out with the guys.
Yeah,
When
golf.
they do the baby shower.
golf diaper.
Oh yeah,
beers.
it's all just excuses.
Yeah,
but-
before we dive down another rabbit
All right,
hole.
so
These lights went out. Yeah.
thanks for joining us. We had a great time. Until next time.
Yeah.